There's a kind of pain that is just different from all the others. It's betrayal. And when that betrayal comes from inside your own family, it doesn't just hurt you. It can feel like your entire world shatters. It completely messes with your reality and leaves you asking, am I even allowed to hurt this much? Well, the answer is yes, you are. And in this explainer, we're going to walk that path back together, the path to reclamation.
This just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Pain from the outside world, that's one thing. But when it comes from the very people who were supposed to be your safe place, shattering is really the only word for it. So let's just be crystal clear right from the start. Yes, you are absolutely allowed to hurt this much.
Okay, so let's dive into our first section here, because really understanding why this specific kind of betrayal feels so earth-shattering is the first step. We're talking about a fracture in your entire emotional foundation. This slide just breaks down the difference so perfectly. I mean, think about it. When a friend or a coworker betrays you, it stings, for sure. But we can kind of process it, right? We can tell ourselves, well, they weren't obligated to love me. But when it comes from inside your own home, from your supposed safe place, there's just no script for that. It isn't just a personal attack. It feels like the very ground you've been standing on your whole life has just cracked wide open.
And that deep, confusing wound, it almost always leads to this spiral of haunting questions. You start to doubt absolutely everything, your own memories, your gut feelings, even your own worth. And asking if it's your fault, in a strange way, that's a survival tactic. It's your brain desperately trying to find some control in a situation that feels completely, terrifyingly out of your control. So that brings us to our next section, which gets into just how complex this pain really is. Because you're not just dealing with what did happen, you're also mourning the dream of what you always believed should have happened. You're grieving something you never actually had. And there's a name for this: invisible grief. It's such a perfect term for it, isn't it? This is the kind of loss that doesn't get a funeral. There are no sympathy cards. The world doesn't really give you permission to mourn it. But just because it's invisible to other people doesn't mean the weight of it isn't real. Oh, it is absolutely real.
And you feel that absence in so many ways, don't you? It's that hug that never came when you were crying your eyes out. It's hearing the words, "I'm so proud of you," from everyone but the people you needed to hear it from most. That empty space, that loud absence, it can be just as painful as any action that was ever taken against you.
And let's be really, really clear about this next point. Wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel respected, wanting to feel believed, these are not extravagant wishes. They are fundamental, emotional necessities. So grieving for them isn't you being dramatic. It's a powerful, necessary act of validating your own experience.
So let me just say this. It is so easy to fall into that comparison trap, right? That little voice in your head that whispers, oh, but other people had it so much worse. But listen, grief is not a competition. Your pain is valid, period. Full stop. You are allowed to mourn what your heart needed and never, ever got. Okay, so acknowledging the pain, that is a huge first step. But the next one, well, that's having the courage to actually name it. And that, right there, is the turning point. It's the moment you start moving out of that silent isolation and into the power of your own truth.
It's like there's this unwritten rule in our society, isn't there? We're told that talking about family betrayal is taboo. We're taught to hide it, to just swallow it. But that silence doesn't actually protect anyone. All it does is create this cage that convinces each of us that we are totally and completely alone in this. And I'm here to tell you, you are not alone.
So what does the path out of that cage actually look like? Well, this slide lays it out perfectly. First, you acknowledge the truth without making any more excuses for the harm that was done. Second, you name it. You call it what it is, even the quiet stuff, like neglect. And finally, you start to reclaim your voice. And listen, this doesn't have to be some big shout from the rooftops. Sometimes the most powerful healing begins with just a whisper to yourself.
And this right here, man, this is a hard but necessary truth to swallow. They might say they love you 100 times a day, but if there's zero accountability for the harm they've caused, that's not love. It's control. And realizing that might sting at first. But wow, it is also the beginning of your freedom. So once you have that clarity, you can move into the final and, honestly, the most empowering phase of this whole journey. And that is the radical act of choosing yourself and fiercely, unapologetically protecting your own peace.
We are so often made to feel that protecting ourselves from our own family is some kind of betrayal. But let's reframe that right here, right now.
When the very people who are supposed to love you are the ones who are damaging your spirit, choosing to protect your peace is not a betrayal. It is a reclamation. It's you taking back your own well-being.
Oh yeah, and you can bet that the first time you set a firm boundary or you decide to skip that toxic family gathering, guilt is going to show up to the party. But here's the thing. That guilt is not a stop sign. It's not telling you that you're doing something wrong. It is just the leftover residue of an old pattern, a pattern where you were always expected to just absorb everything.
And when you start to push through that guilt, the results are incredibly real. They're tangible. You actually start to notice what it feels like when your nervous system isn't buzzing in fight or flight mode all the time. You start to sleep better. You laugh like a real from the belly kind of laugh. You begin to live a life that's guided by your own intentions, not just by someone else's expectations.
Ultimately, this is what it all comes down to. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you stopped caring. It just means you finally care enough about yourself to stop setting yourself on fire just to keep other people warm. It is a profound act of self-respect.
So let's just end on this one final thought. That choice, the choice to stop betraying yourself in the name of family, to finally put your own peace and your own well-being first, that choice might just be the most courageous and the most loving thing you will ever do for yourself. And that is where true peace finally gets a real chance to bloom.